commission meeting to order here at 11:30, and we will start off with an invocation given by Commissioner Bingham, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance given by Annie Hansen from our County Attorney's Office.
Heavenly Father, as we come before Thee, we're grateful for the blessings that we enjoy in our lives, for the opportunity to live in a free land and to be able to raise our families and have that opportunity to make choices and to live in a manner which is pleasing to Thee. We're thankful unto Thee for the blessings of being able to have water, and that we can raise our crops and that we can feed ourselves and that we can plan for the future, to be able to preserve these rights and opportunities for the betterment of the people. We pray this day as we're involved in our local government that Thou will inspire and direct us to help us in making decisions that will promote those goals. And we ask for these blessings this day in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please rise. Repeat the Pledge of Allegiance with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our first order of business will be to approve our minutes from August 1st.
Okay, I reviewed the minutes and I make a motion that we approve the minutes for August 1st.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, a second from Commissioner Summers to approve the minutes from August 1st. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. All right. Next thing I just want to bring up, we have had public comment. This is called Commissioner's Comments here. We've had public comment for quite some time now in our commission meetings, and we want to know that we do hear those comments when people are talking about the things that they're talking about. We just want to point out that we've had people talk about the minutes that get taken in our meeting. And our minutes are just that. They're minutes. They're just an abbreviated version of what occurred in the meeting. They have the key components of the actions that were taken, but if anybody ever wants to have a full transcript or copy of those minutes, there are recordings that are kept in our clerk's office and are available. We've also heard people about election laws, and we've seen in our state recently some things play out with elections and election laws, and those are not left up to the county per se to deal with election laws. Those are a legislative issue, as we saw with our Supreme Court yesterday and those decisions there. We've also heard from some folks about a barking dog or a nuisance type of situation that we're looking at, and that we're grateful that somebody brought it to our attention, and we'll see how that goes forward. We've also heard about our zoning, and we're working with our planning and zoning department to hopefully see what can be done to alleviate the concerns of the public there. And also we've had things with in Willards. We've had lots of things be brought to the commission. We appreciate those public comments because they are beneficial for us as a commission to hear what the thoughts of the people are as, going forward that may or may not have accrued or come to the point where they're on the agenda, but can be put on a future agenda if necessary. So we just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention that there are minutes available, both in the abbreviated version that we have passed here, as well as if you need to go to the clerk's office, you can hear word for word everything that we're saying in the commission meeting. So with that, we'll go on. Administrative review reports, future agenda items. Do you have anything, Commissioner?
No.
Commissioner Summers, do you have anything for future agenda items we need to put on?
I don't.
Okay. We do have a former agenda item we need to discuss, generators and servers. So if we could have Cody Elam and Keith Geller come up here, we'll just have you guys tell us what we talked in the last meeting. For everybody's information, we talked about, we passed 3 generators to be put in place, one at our Justice Center, one at our DMV office, and one at our landfill. We were on hold for the one here on the building here because we do have the servers in the building. That's our concern. So we've involved our IT and our buildings and grounds to kind of give us maybe some solution to this where we may not have to spend that money for a generator here on in this building, the county building. So if you guys want to tell us what you come up with or what you think we could do, make sure you get that mic close so that Commissioner Summers can hear you.
So, okay, Cody, Buildings and Grounds.
Keith Keller, IT. Do you want me to tell them?
Yeah.
I'll talk about it. Yep. So, in order to get the mission-critical servers out of this building, which would alleviate you having to put in a generator, and, you know, in an earthquake, it probably won't survive. We have 2 locations we thought about. Originally, we thought about my office, the DMV location, but we would have to put in a pretty fat internet connection there, which is kind of pricey, or we'd have to run our own fiber. Thinking about further, we're looking at the Justice Court. We have a server room there. It's already on the same fiber ring that this building is on. We wouldn't have to buy additional bandwidth. Really, all we'd have to do is get some battery backups and maybe a little bit better switches, and we'd just move everything over there. So that's kind of our plan, unless someone has a really heartache with it.
So we could do that perhaps and use some of them. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to cost us some money to move those servers, correct?
And that's why we're here to talk about, instead of spending that money on the generators, we'd allocate a small portion of that money. Keith doesn't know exactly how much to put those servers over there. And then also, we did discuss about adding a smaller generator here that I've got one on a trailer that we might be able to just hook up, hardwire out back. I haven't got the numbers on that yet, but I think this fixes the problem that we can move forward with the servers, and those generators that we've already been approved will be utilized, and Keith's servers will be online no matter what the emergency is.
Okay. Any discussion from the commission?
So if you move those servers over to the Justice Building, then that building's been upgraded and would be more stable in an emergency. That's what we're thinking.
Yeah, the chances of that building falling down are slimmer, and it's way less expensive to put a generator over there.
okay.
And we won't have to, my building is great, but we would have to put in a significant new fiber line. And, you know, if we don't have to do that, why do it?
Yeah.
We've got space at the Justice
When-
Court.
Commissioner Summers, you
When
have something?
USIP came and graded our facilities, the courthouse was graded probably the lowest out of any facilities we have. The Justice Court was rated probably one of the top ones right now. So what Keith's thinking, I think, is fully operational. It'll save the county money, plus be in a better spot.
That generator that was approved will be big enough to facilitate his servers. So what you've already approved, it'll be utilized there.
Sounds great.
Cost-wise, we would be looking at a couple of new heavy-duty switches to run the equipment. Battery backups, I know what those would cost. Those are right around $10,000. And then we do have to contract with someone to move the storage area network. It's like, you know, it's a $200,000 piece of equipment. So they don't want me throwing it in the back of the truck for some reason. So, but I'm guessing that would be around two. So I think we'd do the whole thing for well under $30,000.
So commissioners, do you want to make a motion to adjust to allow the budget that we were going to put toward the generator here used to make this switch instead?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
So moved.
Second.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Summers and a second from Commissioner Bingham that we allow the money that was going to be used for the generator here to be used to make that switch over to the Justice Center. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Motion passes unanimously. Okay, thank you. Emergency management issues, I don't think we have any right now. ARPA, LATCF, none at this point. We are to the point where we get to probably my favorite part of having this meeting. This is where we get to recognize some of our great county employees. And I'm going to take a second here and read both. I actually got 2 nominations, and there probably could have been a whole bunch more nominations that came in on this. The first nomination was that this was sent to us, this commissioner said, I would like to take the opportunity to nominate the incredible women of the clerk's office for the Employee of the Month. I've watched them handle so many situations with much grace and composure. I've seen them work tirelessly on elections, marriages, passports, and so on. But seeing them yesterday morning, this was the day that our rodeo tickets went online, just so you all understand the day that this came in. Seeing them yesterday morning with the longest line of folks wanting rodeo tickets was quite the sight. This didn't run as smoothly as we would have liked it, but these women were really held it together, provided the best customer service I've ever seen. Smiles on their faces, they remained so calm and helped every single person. After they got through the people in the courthouse, they returned over 100 phone calls and solved so many problems. One thing I love about these amazing women is that they are eager to help each other out while they have individual responsibilities to carry out daily. They do not hesitate to jump in and help each other, but no matter if it's an election or rodeo tickets, they truly have earned the consideration for this honor. Second email I got a couple days later after that saying they didn't know totally how to do this, but they said they wanted to reach out and spotlight a few people in our county offices. The Box Elder County Fair and Rodeo are extremely successful. This doesn't happen without the help of many, many county employees and volunteers. I don't think most people recognize the intense work it takes to put on such an event. This year, the county used a new ticket sales provider. With change always comes growing pains. The ladies of the clerk's office fielded an extreme amount of phone calls from frustrated ticket buyers, many of which were frustrated because the tickets sold out so quickly, or that the family pass would not work in their favor. How cool is it that something so sought after sells out in hours, if not minutes? 18,000 ticket sales in an hour would sell anything out rather quickly. This is completely out of the control of, and yet they were willing to we're taking calls after call, trying to help the citizens inside and outside of Box Elder County, coming to the county to find a resolution to their issue. The vast majority of comments from the social media platform said how helpful these ladies were in correcting the ticket sales. They were in a very intense and quite possibly stressful situation for what I would imagine was an all-day, likely days event. I also think it's quite amazing how much behind-the-scenes work these ladies do. I'm talking about Lori Purdom, Tammy Gibson, Natalie Beer, and Marla Young. They are preparing all ribbons. They are preparing all ribbons for livestock premiums. This is not a small number. Box Elder County is a strong ag community with a high volume of livestock being entered each year. While this task may not be difficult, it does take time. The week of the fair and the rodeo is busy, if not one of the busiest for the county. I'm sure you're aware of it. It's the best. Nights that are normally spent at home for these ladies with family members are quickly turned into long days and late nights at the fairgrounds. They're not out riding rides with their families, nor are they sitting in attendance at the rodeo. Hopefully they get to go to at least one night of the greatest rodeo around. Instead, they are working ticket booths, gates at the rodeo, or just plain trying to accomplish everything at once. The clerk's office doesn't close during the fair. There are still marriages happening, although I can't imagine getting married during the best week of the year, haha. Election work going on, and just someone being in the actual office to run the day-to-day operations of the office on top of the responsibility of the fair and rodeo. Personally, I think citizens are lucky to have such a great team in the clerk's office that are so respectful and willing to serve. So with that, we want to invite our clerk's office to come forward and be recognized as the Box Elder County Employees of the Month. If the four of you will please come forward. We got one of them up here, but if the other three would please come forward.
So Lee and I will be bookends.
We get to be the thorns among the roses.
That's exactly. Thanks. We should have said, we appreciate you putting up with us.
Yeah, that was the other part we didn't read in there. And as Commissioner Bingham just mentioned, the other part that we didn't mention here, this is just two people sending members from the commission. They also take the minutes for our meetings. They provide us with the agenda. They set the agenda for all of our meetings. So there are many more things that our clerk's office do that people just don't fully understand and appreciate. And I'm grateful that we had two different people see that and take the time to recognize that. So anyway, so we appreciate that. Let's move on. We have our first public interest item is at 11:40, report on how the Box Elder broadband project is progressing, and then discuss additional funding to supplement. Brian Carver from Bragg, if you want to come up here.
If it's okay with the commission, I'd like to invite Greg Stevens from Beehive Broadband
That's great.
to participate with me. Well, good morning, commissioners. My name is Brian Carver. I'm the Community Development Director at Bear River Association of
Make sure you
Governments.
talk really close to that so that Commissioner Summers can hear you.
Okay, hope you can hear me, Stan. But yeah, thank you for your time today. I just wanted to give you a quick update on this project. In 2021, the county was invited by the state of Utah to apply for this broadband access grant to help provide high-speed internet service to underserved rural remote communities in Box Elder County. And the state at the time had budgeted about $10 million statewide for this project. Box Elder County applied and initially received 5.6, so more than half of the total state allotment came to Box Elder County. And within a year or two of the project being underway, the state had other recipients that were not spending their money. And so they actually reallocated an additional $1.5 million, $1.6 million to Box Elder County, bringing our total award up to about $7.4 million. Since late 2021, Box Elder County contracted with Beehive Broadband Telecommunication Services to do the engineering and contracting to construct these fiber optic networks within 8 communities in Box Elder County, including Howell, Thatcher, Penrose, Elwood, Bear River City, Manaway, Willard, and South Willard. To date, approximately $5 million of the state grant has been spent, along with a little over $1 million. It's $1 million and about $10,000 of county funds that were dedicated as match from American Rescue Plan Act, ARPA funds that the county had received. And then Beehive has contributed about almost $500,000 in about $484,000 in-kind materials and labor for the construction to date. Right now, they have provided or they have constructed fiber optic lines along main streets, major streets within 6 communities within the project area. Or, well, I guess 5 communities, sorry. They're just about ready to start in Howell in a couple of weeks. But so we have 5 communities, almost 100% built out to date, with nearly 1,000 homes and businesses that have been passed by this service. The objective of the grant was to construct what we call middle mile, which is the infrastructure that runs down the main street. It doesn't connect individually to everybody's homes, but it's that kind of in the middle infrastructure that makes sure that the service is available to as many people as possible within the community. The subscription rate is lower, of course, than the pass rate, because that's the subscription rate is the number of people that have chosen to subscribe to the service that's available. That subscription is not mandatory. None of this is required for people to sign up and belong to, but the intent of the grant was simply to make that service available. The total project area, we have about 2,800 homes and businesses that will be passed, and we're just about, we've passed about 1,000 of those as of right now. The majority of work, or at least the majority of residents and businesses still remain in Willard and South Willard communities. And that the engineering work for those communities is done, but the construction hasn't started yet. Similarly in Howell, the construction for Howelltown will start just within a couple of weeks to provide services to another approximately 80 to 100 homes. So we've run into some complications, however. Since 2021, labor and material costs have increased substantially. And our original budget that was adopted for the project when we applied for the funds in 2021, costs are projected to exceed that. And so we are looking for additional funds so that we can complete the project as scoped. Otherwise, the state of Utah is asking us to look at ways that we can reduce the amount of work done, and subsequently we will lose some of that state money that has been contracted to Box Elder County, just because if the county can't provide a certain matching percentage, 25% of the total project costs, then the state is not going to continue to provide any additional disbursements from the existing contract. So right now we're at
Brian, so what's that the disbursement that we're going to leave on the table if we don't fund this is 2 point what million?
$2.6 million.
And 25% of that is 200 and what thousand?
Well, 25% of the 2.6 million is, God, I don't have my calculator with me. Yeah, it's
20.
It's about 520.
700,000.
We also, thank you, $650,000. We also have an additional $200,000. So all of the numbers that I'm running off of are basically end of June 30th. And meanwhile, Beehive has been continuing to provide or continuing to do work through July and August. We're looking at $650,000 in order to match the $2.6 million that's on the table. But we're also looking for an additional $220,000 to be used to match the work that's already been done over the last couple of months.
So you're talking about $900,000?
Yeah, about $870,000.
So the state has just said that if we don't get this part finished, that none of these communities will be eligible for the new funding. So that was my biggest concern because of inflation. If the inflation would have been 30 to 40%, this would have all been taken care of, and we wouldn't be coming back again. The state actually gave us another $1 million because of inflation, Brian, but yet it still wasn't enough to cover the inflationary costs of materials and the things that happen and how, right?
Yeah, it was an additional $1.6 million is what they allocated to us late last year. So that brought the total state award up to about almost 7.5 million. It was 7.4 and some change.
And plus the CBDG grant that we got that was almost $1 million when we got the first part of it and brought broadband off the freeway. So
well, we did. The county has understandably invested another approximately $800,000 between the community development block grant project in Bothwell, as well as an additional project to provide service to the Marble Hill community. Those two projects were a little over 200 additional homes and businesses. However, the state is not allowing us to count that as match for this other broadband access grant project, simply because they were already conceived and executed prior to the broadband access grant project. And they just feel like adding that after the fact just makes it look like we're padding our numbers. Where now, if we had thought ahead 2 years ago and asked to amend the scope of work to include all work being done in the county, I think we would have been better off. But they're not going to let us come in the back door and do it after the fact, where the work in those communities has already been done.
So you say this project is for 2,800 homes?
Correct. 2,800 homes and businesses in these small communities, most of which are off of the I-15 corridor, that do not have reliable high-speed internet service.
So for us to come up with $900,000, we're going to have to raise taxes for the whole county?
No, Boyd, we're not going to have to raise taxes for the whole community. If you looked at your email this morning, I had Shirlene sent us out a thing about RDAs and what we have in economic development. There's $3.7 million in the economic development fund. So this would fit right underneath that to be able to spend that kind of money out of the economic development RDAs. All we'd have to do is have a budget amendment, and that would take care of these other communities plus the match. I just don't want to leave 2 point whatever million from the state on the table if we have those funds in economic development right now. And all we have to do is do a budget amendment to get this thing finished and across the finish line, especially for Perry and Willard, where it wasn't their fault that all these things happened with inflation, that to the point where they can't get good access. And, and that 2,800 homes is almost about as many as homes we've already done. Isn't that right, Brian?
That's correct. We're about halfway through that 2,800 homes.
Yeah, so no raising taxes, we just have to spend the money that's already there.
What's the deadline the state needs us to meet on this when we have to make a decision on what we're going to do here?
Well, I think the state would like a decision within the next couple of weeks. One of the issues at hand is there is a new round of federal assistance coming out, the BEAD program, or Broadband Equity Access through, I don't remember what the D stands for, but it's from the Infrastructure Jobs Act of 2021, the bipartisan infrastructure bill, however you want to label that one. But that fund will become available later this fall or early next year. And if the state's concern is that if we start working halfway into a community such as Willard and then run out of money, Willard as a community would no longer qualify for that new BEAD grant. And so the state is looking for a way that we can either commit to completing this project as scoped or find a clean cutoff so that we can try and leave as many underserved and unserved communities intact so that they can maintain that status and that eligibility for the next round of grants.
Which could take up to 2 years, from my understanding. The state will get about $320 million probably at the end of this next year. But by the time they get through with the process, it could take up to another 2 years.
So it sounds like if we're going to come up with the money, it would have to come out of RDA, which means we'd have to have an RDA meeting. Our next commission meeting isn't until September 4th. Are they going to wait till September 4th if we to make that decision or to get this process?
If we commit the funds, they said they'll wait. All we got to do is commit the funds and know that they're coming. So.
But we're not in an RDA meeting, so we can't commit any funds without.
Oh, I know.
Without an agenda.
No,
We'd
I'm
have to
just-
go into an RDA to do that.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
so we'd have
I
to hold an
understand
RDA
that.
meeting to do that. So I think the answer's got to be we take all this information
Well-
under advisement, and then we can schedule a meeting perhaps sometime between now and September 4th, or by September 4th to make that motion.
I could check.
If they think that we need to have it now, then, we just took 24-hour notice it. I mean, we've emergency meeting before. I don't think, Brian, that as long as they say we're working towards it, they don't need a check in their hands by September, right?
That's correct.
So we
I can contact the state broadband
if you'd
office.
contact them, then we can decide what we need to do, because I don't think we can make that motion today in the meeting and
Understood.
make
Yeah,
it
it's
happen.
not on the agenda, so I would not
Right.
expect an answer.
Okay, is there anything from Beehive you'd like to share with us on this matter? Just want to make sure you introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Greg Stevens. I'm from Beehive Engineering Group. No, I think Brian has done a great job, but I am here to answer any questions, if there are any, from the council here on progress or whatever. I have all that in my head if there are any questions.
Do we have any questions from the commission for Beehive?
Greg, I think you ought to talk to the public about how much money, it talked about $500 and something thousand that Beehive has put towards that. But when we first did this, we let a couple of other people bid since we were putting in the infrastructure, and Beehive was the only company that would come in and hook up our residents for free in a certain period of time. So not only did it save money that was able to go towards these grants, but it also saved our constituents money, because for a certain time, instead of anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000 to hook up their houses or businesses or whatever, Beehive would come in and hook that up for free. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct. Since we started this project, we have determined that the average drop cost. So Brian mentioned that this project was to fund getting the fiber lines down the main streets, but the line from that main street into the house is called a drop. The average drop for a home is in the work that we're doing in Box Elder County is $2,400. So and that includes just getting it to the home, and then there's the installation of the actual equipment inside the home. So part of our matching funds and so forth was we are offering free hookup, internet hookup, for a certain period of time when our construction crews are out in these areas. And so we're basically waiving all those costs for getting that installation to the house and the $2,400 average for getting to a particular house.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, Stan? Sorry,
Yeah.
Commissioner?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that was on the record.
Okay. Great. We'll appreciate the information, and we'll, like I said, take it under advisement. We'll move forward. So with that, if I could entertain a motion, and we appreciate you coming. We're going to keep Brian here for just a minute because we're going to go into our RDA because he has a presentation to do that. So
I'll make a motion, go into RDA meeting.
Second.
we have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, a second from Commissioner Summers to go into our RDA meeting. All in favor? Aye. Okay, we're now in our RDA. First thing we need to do is approve our minutes from December 20th. Oh, we got to switch. Yeah, got to switch tapes. Hang on. We're good? Okay. So now we're going to go back into our commission meeting, and we're on to item number B of public interest. Thank the Commissioner for Peach Days support. Monica Holdaway, if you want to come up and... We're excited about Peach Days this year. I know the Kiwanis Club has got a really cool new fruit and vegetable design for out front that'll be coming up here. Oh, you haven't seen it? Well, it is really cool, and it fits right in line with your theme for this year. So anyway. All right. Thank you.
Hi, Stan. It's Monica. Monica Holdaway, Box Elder Chamber of Commerce. Just want to thank you all for Peach Days support. Setup is going to be the exact same it has been in the past. The only thing, the grandstands on your grounds, first aid station, and then the food court.
Cody even said he was going to turn the sprinklers off so we don't have to be sprayed this year, I think so.
It was fine.
What the heck? Cool us down.
I know. We have good weather, and so, yeah, we want to keep everything looking nice. And we have an ABBA tribute band performing Saturday night. We have Fox 13 News will be here up here on Friday morning doing a live broadcast. And then we will be on Good Things Utah on Tuesday of that week. We've already been on Fresh Living. Joan Hammer and I went down, and it was it was really early in the year, so we talked, mark your calendars now, but also visit the Fruitway in Box Elder County. Peaches are just starting, so visit anytime in the next month. And so we were able to promote it that way. Any questions?
You want to tell everybody what the theme is so they all...
Oh, yeah. Picture perfect Peach Days.
Picture perfect Peach Days, yep.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you'll have to wait and see the Kiwanis design. I'm not sure that I'm allowed, other than going to the meeting, I'm not
They
sure I'm
usually
allowed to
show
release the
me,
design.
but,
Anyway, but it is, it's a
Hey,
neat design.
Monica,
Yes.
I know they're still looking for volunteers to carry the major and the Peach Day flag from Jenny Taylor.
Yes.
Have you heard if they've got enough volunteers, or can we put that out there right now to...
Yeah, we can put
Have
it out
people
there right
carry the
now.
major. Okay.
The major flag is coming up and going to be walked down the parade route. And we are looking for volunteers to carry it. I think they need a total of 40 people. I did see it on Facebook. There's a post. And then I also have it on my email.
So we'll make sure to talk to Lynette. with
Yeah,
our-
we'll get it to Lynette.
So
and
we can
stuff.
put it out from the county's
Yeah,
perspective.
I'm talking to
And
the
I've already
national.
done that.
Okay, you already did that, Stan?
Yeah, I already
Okay,
give it to
that's
her.
probably
I'm just
what I
making sure
saw
it
on
got in the
Facebook.
paper and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm also working with the National Guard. They just contacted me yesterday, and so I need to email them because they said they have lots of helpers too. So that would be kind of cool to have our National Guard unit helping carry the flag.
That would
So,
be awesome.
yeah, so I just need to follow up on that this afternoon. So
Great. And can we officially announce who our
Grand Marshals
grand
are?
marshals are? That would be
Yes.
kind of nice to do because
Yep.
one of them is a former county commissioner.
Yes, our Grand Marshals are Clark and Shelley Davis, and then our Junior Grand Marshal is Rachel Rasmussen.
Great.
So, yep, newspapers will be coming out. Peach Queen's all planned. Everything else is good.
Okay. Well, we appreciate all the
So,
work that you're doing from the
thank
chamber
you.
to support this, and we'll look
Okay.
forward to Peach Days. So if
Alrighty.
there's something you need help with, please let us know.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Monica.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay, let's go on to our next item, 1150, request for 2 new library board members.
Hello, Heather Nelson, Bookmobile. So we have our first is going to be replacing Rod McGarry. He served with us for 8 years and his term was up. And so we are replacing him with Eva Peterson from Beaver Dam. And she has accepted, been asked and accepted. And then our second one is a spot that has been open for a while. And that is Kelly Ward Kunzler. And you know, there's 2 Kelly Kunzlers out there. This is
Pretty sure it's not the one I know. Yeah.
No, this is Kelly Ward Kunzler, and she is a published author.
wow.
She's been a Bookmobile patron for over 15 years, so she's amazing, and she has been asked and accepted a spot on the library board.
And her books are on the Bookmobile.
They are.
Wow,
Yep.
that's great.
Yep.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make
So
a motion.
moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Summers, a second from Commissioner Bingham to approve Eva Peterson from Beaver Dam and Kelly Ward Kunzler from Park Valley to be on the library board. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Heather.
Okay, let's go to Cipriano Lopez, purchase of property from the county to use for farmland. Come on up. If you'll have a seat right there, make sure the mic's nice and close, and then you just tell us your name and where you live and what you'd like to talk to us about.
My name is Cipriano Lopez Jr. I was born in Brigham City, Utah, and we live in Bear River at the time. Well, right now, currently.
Okay.
So,
Put that mic real close, because Commissioner Summers out there, and he
Okay.
won't be able to hear you unless that's real close.
all right.
Okay.
So the thing is I've been looking for property myself, land I can farm. Our family's been here for over 100 years, working the land out here for all the farmers. My uncle just retired from Spencer and Charlie's farm that they have out there. They used to have a lot of cattle. And
Holmgrens.
the thing is yeah, and his name's Lupe Lopez. He's the one that owns Lupita's. He's trying to get that back up and going. But the thing is what I was interested in is working with the county and working with, when I was looking through the tax possessed properties, it was actually kind of heartbreaking to see that families, lose their homes, getting in a rush with certain things. And my plan was to use the land that if the county would permit or grant access to, what I would do is it would help rebuild the community of farming. So we've grown up in it for so many years that we know that it's important to maintain a relationship with another farmer. Like if somebody has hay and another's got cattle or horses, you want to have that relationship. So when the hard times come, you can help each other out. And that's kind of what I'm basing my stance on is I'd like to be able to get the land, harvest, and whatever comes out of the harvest, just taking a small portion to make sure we're okay, our family, and then being able to have whatever came through the families that are in debt or have the tax liens and stuff like that to help them regain possession of their homes and get away from all these companies that are just money hungry and want to take people's homes. And that's the thing is if it would be sort of like a lien that the county would hold, and then the people, if they really, really want their homes, they would go and they would help work the lands, or we would work their land, leave it. If they have a good amount of land to be able to farm, they can stay in their homes so long as they're out there, irrigating or watering or doing things that, it takes hard work to do. And there's only one of me and a few of my brothers, so I know it can get big real quick. And so that's kind of how we would help the community stop losing, possession of their homes. And if they live in town, we would assign a certain property that they would be in charge of having to go oversee, because to me, this area has always been, farmland. Cherry pick, the raspberries, the peaches, Nielsen Farms. My dad worked there when I was young. We used to go out to Cache County when I was like 5-6 years old, and we'd be pulling cherries off the trees, and it was a hard life. But the thing is to help our future generations not have to live a life where they're in a constant struggle, and knowing that they can have a community to depend on. That's kind of what I'm trying to. That's my essence of everything, because I recovered from being lost in a bad, really bad path, and I was helping everybody when I was trying to slowly recover on my own. And the people you thought are your friends aren't your friends. And I just turned my life over to God, and I said, God, I helped everybody else, and I need your help now. And now I'm here, free, clean, and I'm glad. I still got the nicotine habit that I'm trying to get rid of. But the thing is I would love to be able to help the community build back, because they helped me, whether, just by little things. I know that there's a lot of people out there that if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be right here where I am today.
So help me
Have you got
understand.
some properties identified?
I was working with the man upstairs. I can't remember the plan.
Our planning and zoning?
Yeah, the planning and zoning.
I
And
thought you were talking about God.
I've done that
All
too.
right. Okay. I'm just making sure. All right.
He's talking about the man on the third floor for today, so.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I think it would help the community, and a lot of, if this starts, it can, it can expand, go viral, as they say nowadays, to where people can get away from needing to use funds from the state or for federal or things like that. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing that those funds are there, but they can go to better causes, that'll help. And I'd be willing to work with like places like Bragg, things like that, place people in homes, people that just are like, just let the home go. We can move a family that needs a home into that home, and all they would have to do is just work that area. And I'm not trying to go over time or anything, but
No, yeah,
So
we
Destin,
appreciate that.
Are you familiar with this?
Yeah, come on
please.
up, Destin, since Commission, that's normally Scott Lyons, but Destin from his office is
didn't
here.
mean to
so-
put you on the spot there.
Yeah.
Destin Christiansen, Planning and Zoning. So I've talked with, with Mr. Lopez, a little bit as far as just kind of what the possibilities are. I haven't heard what you guys have heard today thus far. Scott obviously would be the better one. I'm not sure how our department can help out to a certain extent. I know I referred him a little bit down to the auditor's office that handles a lot of the tax sales, that type of stuff when it comes to the property that has those liens out for them. But yeah, beyond that, that's about the extent of my knowledge with it, so.
Okay.
And Mr. Lopez, this is Commissioner Summers. Our biggest problem is when it goes through a tax sale, by law, we only have so many days to actually put it being sold.
Yeah, no.
So this might take a state amendment to be able to do anything like that. I mean, the county does have some properties we hold that we lease out, and that's probably the best thing that you could do right now is to go take a look and maybe ask community development, some of these properties that we lease out and it comes up for bid every often, you would go basically bid in a better lease for that. Some of them we try to sell, some of them we tried, just to lease out. So that would be my starting point if I was going to give you any advice.
And I think what he's talking about, I think also Commissioner Summers would be, I think Bragg's another good place for him to talk to about some of the homes that maybe they're helping right now with repairs and stuff. They may know kind of economic situations of some folks that he could step in and definitely help.
Yeah, and the thing is, I've been, thanks to God, I've been able to learn a lot of things. I know welding, I know remodel work. The only thing I don't deal with is electrical. We don't agree. But farming, repairing vehicles, things like that. And so it would help me to come in and help people become self-sufficient with being able to fix a vehicle. The brakes need to be replaced. Sometimes, single mothers, they don't have anybody but, their dad or their brothers, and they're sick or they're at work, and they have to go and spend the money that they are meaning to have food on the table for their children to go fix their vehicle, because that's the only way they'll get to work. And to be able to help families that need help with repairs or remodeling some of the homes, I can teach them. I know how to tape, float, put up studs to divide walls. I don't do like any load bearing walls, but I do have a family member of mine that he has his contractor's license, and so he would be willing to step in with me on that, and that's something. It'd just be nice to kind of help a lot of people.
It sounds like we need to get you to Habitat for Humanity, buddy.
Have you ever heard of Habitat for Humanity?
I've heard of it, but I've never been there.
So what we'll do is, we got your contact, so we'll get you in touch with them as well as Bragg. Because I think those are two of the places, what you're telling us, that you could be of benefit and help to those folks. Habitat for Humanity basically tries to build homes, and through sweat equity, they let people come in and build a home for themselves, or they try to remodel homes to get people that need a home that may not have a home.
I'm aware. I helped a friend of mine. She actually is part of the, what's it called, Corinne. Corinne, I helped her when before she moved in, and I was helping that little community there.
Perfect.
Going in and doing sweat equity when she couldn't make it. So
Okay, we've got your information. We'll forward it on, and we'll be in touch with you to pass that on. But appreciate you coming in and talking to us with your idea. And if we can find a way to develop it from the county, we will. But if not, we'll get in touch with the right people who can possibly help you promote this process. So
yeah, it'd be nice, because it'd be nice to kind of retain that farm, and there's a whole bunch of land nobody wants to touch, and it's actually pretty good for peaches out there. So
yeah, and Commissioner Bingham is really great at agriculture, and I'm sure that he knows somebody who's a farmer that needs your help. I'm sure he can put you in touch with them as well. So
okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Have a great day.
All right, we've got 3 approvals for annexation island in Willard. So let's start with Bob Davis. Come on up, yeah. Again, we need you to put the mic close to your and introduce yourself so that Commissioner Summers can hear you as well.
Can you hear me, Stan?
Yep, I can hear
Okay.
you.
All
Sorry,
right.
I was muted.
Introduce yourself, just so.
I'm Bob Davis, and I'm here for an annexation into Willard City from Box Elder County.
Okay.
And so what do I do?
We're going to give our county attorney's office just a second to explain this real quickly. So,
Okay.
Annie?
Sorry, let me get it close. Under state statute 10-2-402, it's in the annexation section. The reason that the following 3 agenda items are here in front of the commission is that these annexations are going to create an island, which is common in Willard. And so they have to get agreement of the elected body of the county to be able to create these islands. So you're not approving the annexation, you're just agreeing to the creation of an island through the annexation process.
Right. Willard City's already approved this, correct?
They have.
Okay.
So this is not for development, right? This is for a park? Is that?
That's correct. My primary objective is to create a memorial park for my late wife. And the county doesn't have a parks department, so that's my motivation to.
Yeah, I remember
annex.
you came to the Willard Flood District and talked
Oh,
to us
yeah.
about it then. So, yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Bob. Thanks for doing that.
Yep.
What a great tribute.
Okay, so we'll take that. First one here, a motion for approval for annexation island in Willard. We have it. He's presented us a copy of the map in the area that they're talking about that we've been given in our minutes, or in our agenda.
So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner Summers.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Bingham. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay,
Thank you.
All right, our next one would be Nathan Rose.
Nathan Rose, applying for application or continuing an application for annexation into Willard for some parcels that I own.
Yep, okay, so we have, they've also sent one, this is on, so Mr. Davis is on the west side of Highway 89, this one's on the east side of Highway 89. Just past where, I don't know, let's see, I'm trying to describe where it's at.
By Willard Bay Gardens, it's
Just past Willard Bay Gardens, yeah, I was gonna
east
say.
of Willard Bay
or the
Gardens.
old Howard Hughes folks. That
Oh,
were-
yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
the old
I've
gas
got the
station
video.
and stuff down there, the original Flying J just past there, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's where the annexation is that has been approved through Willard, right?
It's part of the process.
Part of the
We
process?
first have to go through the county before
Okay.
Willard will take the steps to go through the entire approval
Yep.
process, which is about 15 to 20 steps.
Yep, and we've talked about that, so any discussion from the commissioners? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
So help
So
me.
moved.
This is not the one that we talked about earlier, right?
Well, it is, it actually is about where the roadway is?
This is actually different from the roadway.
Okay.
That roadways does touch this piece of property, and I'd like to work with the commission on that roadway. I know we were working with the commission back in March, and we had some follow-up emails as part of that meeting that we had. The county had some problems in the roads department with some bridges that went out, and so we were kind of tabled and we would definitely like to work with the commission again to resurrect that. I believe we needed to work with the roads department and with the legal department about taking over that road. So I've got
But with
the
this
emails
annexation,
printed
I
out,
think
but-
Willard could work with you to also help with that as well, right?
Yeah, but the property on that road is not annexed in, and the people who live on that road aren't really pro-annexation because of some of the land that they use for farming and for compliance into Willard City rules for animals. They don't want to annex in.
Okay,
Yet we have to because of some of the things that we're trying to put up on this property.
okay.
So it is kind of connected, but separate in a.
So the
in a
road
way.
issue is still something that's undecided.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we had a motion from Commissioner Summers.
I'll second it.
We have a second, Commissioner Bingham. Any discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Thank you. We'll reach out to the commission in an email for an update and what the next steps would be on the road project.
Okay, thank you. And our last one will be Brian Robbins. Again, this looks like it's on the east side of Highway, no, let's see. West of 89, east of I-15, down by, looks like down by the Willard Steak Center, correct?
Yes, right next door.
Okay, just to the north of the Steak Center, correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, Mr.
Brian
Robbins.
Robbins.
Okay, and have you been through Willard City yet, or?
I've been through Willard City. It's in the process. This
Okay.
is obviously the first
Right.
step. This is for development, housing development, half-acre lots.
Okay,
I don't know what else. You have our plat, right?
yeah, I've got the plat here we're looking at, yep, so.
So we're just
All right.
following the rules of
Yep.
what we're supposed to do. They want to
Understand.
annex and.
Yep, we've done that in several places down here, so. Any discussion from commission? If not, we'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the annexation for Brian Roberts.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, a second from Commissioner Summers to approve the annexation island in Willard for Brian Robbins. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay. All right, this brings us to an item under the assessor's office. So we have Nucor seeking forgiveness on a penalty of an interest in personal property tax. Tyler Godfrey, if you want to come up.
Tyler Godfrey, Nucor, Nucor Building Systems here in Brigham. So appreciate you guys taking a minute to meet with us. We've had opportunity to have a lot of great interactions with the county. I'm not sure that this is my favorite interaction with the county. We do appreciate you taking a few minutes to speak with us. So as some of you are familiar with Nucor, and maybe some who are not, a lot of our leadership and our management within Nucor, we move around the country a lot, and so we have a reasonably high amount of turnover within leadership positions, and so that comes with some good things and sometimes some disadvantages, advantages and disadvantages. Some of the advantages we get to see a lot of different people here in Utah and associated with Box Elder County and with the state, and then those people may go on to even higher positions within the corporation and then bring decisions and bring economic development and things back to the county. And we see that. I don't know if you guys had had opportunity to work with Dan Needham when he was here. We've had even
Dave Smith.
Sure.
Everybody. Yeah, no.
Dave Smith, everybody.
Yep.
Ladd Hall, Mike Hess, even a previous CEO, Dan D'Amico, was here in Plymouth for a period of time. And so there's been just a lot of guys that bring even, I'll say, national wait. So that's one of the positives of having a management team that moves around a lot. One of the disadvantages, however, is that we get that turnover, and we've fallen victim to this situation where we missed our payment for our personal property taxes, and we apologize about that. That was an error. We've worked to correct that. We have now paid the tax. We're here seeking a waive for the penalties and interest that is accrued on that. We have taken some steps to make sure that we mediate this so that it doesn't happen in the future. We've included that. We intend to get it included in our corporate tax listing so that it becomes part of the schedule, so that when we move on, that we're not having the situation again with some future leaders as well. So that's our request.
Okay.
Is there any questions we can answer?
Tyler, and
Hey,
what
Stu.
was this building for? Which one?
So this is for the building systems, personal property taxes within the building systems division.
Okay, because I know we had a couple of years back the same problem up at Nucor proper, the melt.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't part of that one that I remember, Stan. I think maybe I was gone by then, but
I think you were gone by then, but we had that same problem. So what was the penalties and interest on this one? I can't remember now, looking at the email.
So the penalties and interest were $9,800 for the penalty and the interest. We paid $98,000 in personal property tax. That check is in and done. We did not pay the penalty yet based on coming here. I requested of the assessor's office that they know that we made the request to them, and they said they guided us here to the commissioners.
Okay. We do have our assessor here, so if we could have our assessor just come up and give, so we have an idea what the present information from the assessor's office. Rod?
Rodney Bennett, Box Elder County Assessor. Just a little background on this. Utah Code 592-1302. 4B is where it talks about what we are required to do as the assessor's office for penalties and interest on delinquent properties. A little bit of the background is personal property is due May 15th of every year. We send out notices and filing information in January. We send out a reminder between then and May 15th. They're due May 15th. This was not brought to us. We received it August 7th of this year, so quite a while after. In addition, I think some history that's important is last year they didn't file a statement at all. So for the 2023 tax year, they did not pay or did not file. In 2022, they filed late, and they also filed late in 2019. Do you have any other questions from me?
So if they didn't file in 2023, would there be penalties associated with that, or?
They did pay the penalties and interest on that. We attached it to their real property.
Okay, so they did
The problem with them not filing is they didn't give us any of their additions or deletions, so
Okay.
it's not a correct revision of the properties. We've asked them to take care of that as well. Each year, they add some things, they take certain things off. If they don't file, state law makes us do an estimate. So that's basically what happened last year, but it's definitely not ideal.
And I noticed from your office that there was an adjustment in the amount. It was like 98,000. They made an adjustment to 94,000. Is that for the next year going on? I noticed.
Nope, I think what that is showing, and this was actually from Sean's office, the treasurer's office, as far as the adjustment. But what is still due is $9,898.75 in penalties, $2,254.71 in interest, for a total of $12,153.46.
Okay. I just thought I saw something from Mary Ann Packer that had.
Yeah, the adjustment would have been, the initial payment was $98,000. After they filed and we put the information that they put in, it went down $4,355. So the tax would have been $94,629.41.
Okay.
So that's what that adjustment would be.
Any other questions for our
So-
assessor from?
So would that having gone down, would that have affected the penalty and the interest? Or
No. Well, penalty and interest would be put on there. I guess I'll have to ask Sean, but I don't think so.
Sean, do you want to come up and just, would that affect, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, if the amount owed is less, then the penalty is less.
okay. So his answer is the amount owed is less, then the penalty would be less, yes.
I don't know if that was taken into account. That's where I'm saying on these penalties and interest, or if that was the original.
Okay, I just saw that in the paperwork we got. There's
Yes.
something from Marion Packer from your, I think from your office, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Commissioner Summers, do you have any questions for Rod?
No, I would just make a motion that we waive the penalties and interest and make sure that Tyler and those guys have everything in place so we're not doing this again.
Okay.
So Tyler, let me ask you a
Well,
question.
we have a motion on the table. That's the only thing. We have a motion right now. So if we do a second, we can then have a discussion on it.
Or you can allow it to fail by not seconding it.
Yeah. So at this point, we don't have a second on the motion, so we're going to have a further discussion here. So Commissioner Bingham, if you want to further discuss the item.
So, I mean, I understand running a business is a challenge. Do you not have office staff? that
We
are
do.
Permanent?
Yeah, we do have office staff, and certainly the biggest challenge that we have is the turnover. Our accounting manager left last year, and we're working through getting, that transition changed and updated. So I think turnover is the biggest thing. We do have the staff for sure. That's been the problem, I will say, for the last 2 years, which is what I'm familiar with. I was hearing the assessor talk. I was not aware of the previous late fees or the 2019 and 2020, I think is what he listed. I was not aware of those. So we don't have a great track record, and that's something that I'm committed to changing and improving. The 2023, last year's filing with the missing additions and subtractions, that has been corrected and fixed with the submission that we just submitted a few weeks ago. So we are currently all up to date and square with the filing. We're currently paid up on the taxes. We're committed to making sure that we are timely and correct going forward with the May dates, hoping to have the penalties for this year waived.
Yeah, so my problem is, first off, I gotta tell you, I appreciate Nucor being in the county. I mean, I think it's good for employees. A lot of people work there. I think they're good employees from the people I've talked to. But from my standpoint, if I go out to the county and somebody isn't paying their taxes on time, I have to pay my taxes on time or I have a penalty. And if I say, well, I voted to do this and they're a big company, but you're going to have to pay yours, that kind of puts me on a hot spot. A hot spot I don't particularly like to be on. So what I would recommend is say, okay, if the taxes were at $98,000 and we had ended up down at $94,000, I think we adjust the penalty and interest to reflect that and say, please pay the penalty and interest. That's the motion I would make.
Okay, so we have a motion that we go back to the adjusted amount, and the penalty and interest would be on that adjusted amount from Commissioner Bingham. Do we have a second?
No, I just like to go back into the plain fact to know that these guys pay an enormous amount of taxes. They bring in an enormous amount of things that happen. When we talk about businesses and things like that, where you're talking about, I'm not sure that farmers pay personal property taxes on all their equipment like these guys do. And I've had to do it in multiple of my business, and it's a real pain in the ass when it comes to being able to do the paperwork in and out, up and down, and such. And the turnover of Nucor, I mean, I know Tyler's been here for a while, and then he left for a while. And where I keep it kind of in close tact with the 11 divisions that are here, I can understand why that happens. And and I understand why they're coming back for that penalty and interest. But, you know, like I said, we just got another, $80 million division with TrueCore here because of the way Box Elder County treats them, and over $10,000. I don't think it would be right to even make them pay anything. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so I had a motion to do that, and I'll make the second to Commissioner Bingham's motion. Having that said, we'd have to work with the assessor's office and our treasurer's office to figure out what that adjusted amount would be. So with that, I'd put it out to a motion. We have a motion and a second to do the adjusted for the personal property adjustment. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, have one opposed, the motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to our next item, Attorney's Office, Contract 2434, Public Defense Services. Michael McGinnis.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Mike McGinnis, Public Defender Manager for Box Elder and Cache County.
Go ahead.
So today we have 2 contracts. One is for a new public defender for the district court, and it's just a standard contract we use. It's pretty as the other public defenders. And then we also have a contract for a new pilot program for a social worker, and that's going to be for the next 2 years, and see how that how hopefully it's effective for the defendants in the community and provides more services to them.
So the first one's 2434, the second one you're referring to is 2435 for the forensic social worker, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion, and it looks like it's Logan Bushel is the person we're talking about for the first one, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Just a background, he's a very experienced attorney, been practicing a number of years. I think he'll be a good addition to the office.
Okay.
So this is the one that we're replacing, the one that just quit recently?
Correct.
And will Logan be doing drug court as well then, or?
He's not going to be doing drug court. I've had some discussion with Commissioner Beaniam because of just the nature of the job and other counties, the way they do things. I think we need to find an additional person. Currently, I'm doing drug court. Right. I'll be hopefully coming forward with some additional information about another person to handle that.
Okay. All right, we'd entertain a motion on the Public Defense Service for District Court, Logan Bushel.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve contract 24-34 for public defense services for the district court.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, a second from Commissioner Summers to approve contract 2434. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Okay. Second one is an interlocal agreement, 2435, with Weber County for forensic social worker services as part of the public defense grant program. It would be a 2-year contract, not right now, working with them, and it's paid for through a special grant program. So
Michael, this is Cache County, Weber County, and Box Elder County?
It's just Box Elder County, Weber County, and I believe Davis County.
Davis County.
Morgan, I think.
Not Cache?
Weber Morgan, I think is.
It's Weber Morgan,
I think
yeah.
it's Weber Morgan and Davis, and then
Yeah,
so Cache is not part of this.
Cache is not part of it, no.
Oh, so are you still overseeing this?
This is being oversaw by the manager in Weber County, Mr. Vitalik.
Okay. So we talked about that.
Yeah, this would
Okay,
be
thank you.
this would be where this individual would work with the defense attorneys that Mr. McGinnis oversees to help them in defense work with these with a forensic social worker when and where needed.
Correct.
So with that, I would open for a motion to approve the agreement 2435.
I'll make a motion.
So moved.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
I have a motion from Commissioner Summers, a second from Commissioner Bingham to approve interlocal agreement 2435. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, we'll take care of those. Thank you. All right, Auditor's Office. Charlene, we're going to talk about the updated fleet policy and associated forms.
Yes, with the help of the Attorney's Office, we are hoping to come forward with the final version of the fleet policy. Hopefully you've had time to review that and have any questions leading into approving that. we can talk.
Okay, Commissioners, do we have any discussion on the fleet policy? This has been provided to us, and we've talked about it in several meetings up till now. It'll be in section 15 of the employee handbook. Other than, I think the policy we're talking about, did we put an October date for that? Is that-
Yes, with the stipulation, I just thought as you were saying that, of, we would like some time to get the forms all filled out and such with the employees, so
Okay.
October 1st would be our start date with that.
So we would pass it with an October 1st implementation date, is that correct? Okay, and that, you're good with that, Annie, right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
All right. So I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the updated fleet policy and associated forms to take place
Second.
October 1st.
Okay, we have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, a second from Commissioner Summers to approve the updated fleet policy and associated forms in the employee handbook. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion, any opposed? Okay, motion passes. All right, second part is the special exemption for personal use of county vehicles for the following positions: the fire marshal's office, sheriff, deputy sheriff, jail commander, lieutenants, detective sergeant, on-call detective. Charlene.
And we're also asking to add the fire wardens to
Fire
that
warden,
list.
okay.
And so they're asking for personal use with family members in the car for times when they still have to perform their duties, so they would be within a response area. And they have asked for that to be specifically approved by the commission, separate from naming them in the policy, so that if in the future that needs to change or be added to, that we can do that without changing fleet policy.
Okay.
So moved.
So we have a motion to approve the special exemption for personal use of county vehicles for the positions we've named.
So, can I ask
You
a
wanna
question?
do a second, then we can.
I'll second that.
So we have a second, then I'll do discussion.
So how does that affect our insurance? Seems like that was part of the conversation early on.
It does. So then they're only covered by the minimum liability coverage. We've changed up the fleet policy to recommend that they can do supplemental insurance to help cover that, because by state statute, we can't cover above the liability coverage.
Okay, I remember.
And,
Thanks.
and being on USIP's board, they talk about they're covered by their own vehicles, by their own insurance when they're underneath this policy, as of state statute of 2 years ago.
And these folks will also understand they'll be signing agreements that they understand that, correct?
Yeah, so we have created a forum as part of the policy changes. And so that's part of what we need to get collected is who's doing that, and that they'll sign waivers for family members being in the car.
Okay.
Okay.
This just makes it so we have the availability of these emergency personnel to respond in a quicker, more efficient manner. So I've got a motion, I've got a second. Any more discussion? If not, I'll call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, we'll take care of those.
Thank you.
Within October 1st. Let's see. All right, next one will be Inland Port Project Area Resolution 2410. Sean Milne.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For Commissioner Summers, I'm Sean Milne from the Bear River Association of Governments. I do your contract economic development work. As the item notes, you'll recall last year, and I say this a little bit for the benefit of anyone that comes to this particular recording, or for members of the public that are attending today that would appreciate the recap. Box Elder County entered into an agreement with the Utah Inland Port Authority, or Inland Port, and created the Golden Spike Project Area. It has 3 non-contiguous areas or zones. There's an area north of P&G, or Corinne, called the Bailey Farms area. And there's one over by the airport. And oh my gosh, Paul, I forgot. Where's the other? Reeder Ranch. Thank you very much, Reeder Ranch. And as their process allows for, a jurisdiction that has entered into a project area that's already standing and current can create an amendment or expand an area, add parcels to it. And thus what this resolution contemplates. So as you're well aware, Commissioners, and Annie, as we've gone back and forth in some emails over the last several weeks, There's been proposed to add some parcels to that Golden Spike project area as part of this process called an amendment with the port. We understand that there have been some differences of opinion of the commission, and so today is more conversational than anything, and just to provide me and the attorney's office and others that I want to acknowledge here in a moment being present with us today some direction. The latest proposal is for adding some parcels to Brigham City, and we're joined today by Mr. Paul Larson of Brigham City and my equivalent there for economic development for the city. They would like to add some parcels. Now, they're their own local jurisdiction, so they can add that without the county's permission and are prepared to do so. There are two other areas that the commission is well aware of that have been contemplated for this amendment cycle as well. And before I go on, just to clarify, the Inland Port has made it their policy, whether official or unofficial, I'm not really sure, but it has nonetheless been expressed repeatedly that their policy is that they'd like to see an amendment no more frequently than once a year for a project area. So going back, there's two other areas. There's one that's just southwest of Tremonton's current city limits, and we're joined today by Mayor Lyle Holmgren and Bill, I forgot, Colbabe, thank you very much, the city manager of Tremonton. They're here today to represent their city's perspective. While that area is outside of the current city limits of Tremonton, it is envisioned and part of their annexation plan that one day it could become part of that area. And the Inland Port and the county, you know, on your behalf, we've expressed to the city that we want to be mindful of that because entering into a project area does create a financial consequence of 75% of the new growth tax increment going to the Inland Port, presumably for some administrative and reporting cost overhead structure, as well as presumably their own recruitment efforts for attracting rail-specific. That seems to be softening this last year, but it used to be that it was rail-specific infrastructure, but can also be used for other pieces of very expensive infrastructure that might make bare ground marketable. And it exists in place for 25 years once the project area or parcel has been activated or initiated with a project that had come before them. And it acquiesces the county's authority for some of those negotiations, or the city, for that project area specifically. It doesn't acquiesce, you know, some negotiation or acquisition activities on behalf of the jurisdiction outside. And they want to emphasize that it's in good partnership with those local jurisdictions. There's another area that would be south of P&G that we've called the permafrost zone. And that name is quite intentional because there has been a company that has expressed interest for, better part of 9 months, if not closer to a year. And I want to acknowledge that while she's left the room now, Stephanie Tuga Madsen was with us in the audience earlier and had to leave for another appointment. But she has been a realtor that the landowners for Project Permafrost have employed to represent them as the sellers. And so it's under contract by this would-be commercial suitor, and they are looking for a specifically rail-served project. So right now, the county has contemplated adding, as part of the amendment process, Brigham City, which they get to do on their own, the area just south of Tremonton, and an area west of Corinne and south of Procter & Gamble. As recently as just a couple of weeks ago, the idea for that permafrost area was much larger, basically going from Iowa String Road, the highway to the south. There's a canal road that would border it to the north, and immediately north of that Procter & Gamble owns, and the railroad immediately along the east, the very railroad that Project Permafrost endeavors to have a spur come off of. Based upon feedback received from the commission, the Inland Port and I have redrawn some maps, and I want to acknowledge that Stephanie in the back of the room with the Utah Inland Port Authority is here today. She's met with each of you, as you'll recall, and myself, and makes herself readily available. And we've also met several times with Tremonton City. And so based on that feedback, we have scaled back significantly the map that the attorney's office would have seen for review a couple of weeks ago, and more recently, was that Friday, Annie? Anyway, it was at the tail end of last week. And so anyway, what we're hoping for a discussion, but not a vote today, is knowing how you'd like us to proceed. There were other areas that were contemplated as part of this amendment cycle that, again, to varying degrees of perspective on the commission, we've removed. But I just invite you, gentlemen, to give me and the Inland Port and some of the other stakeholders some clear direction as to what you would like me and the attorney's office, presumably, to work on for a formal resolution. And while I feel I understand what some of that documentation is from the attorney's office, I also invite Annie as the substitute for Attorney Hadfield to give me some clear direction, and Stephanie, so we can get all that taken care of. As it stands right now, and then I'll pause, Brigham City has or is proceeding with their segment individually, and in an effort to not totally miss the boat this annual cycle, it is now proposed that the Corinne and Tremonton elements be considered by the Inland Port in their board meeting's October meeting. To preferably put all three together, including the Brigham City, would slow down an opportunity that they have that needs to be a bit more timely executed. Permafrost would certainly love for this to be sooner than later so that they can determine what to do, because they're under contract for the land, but they've not actually executed for it. But so that, again, we don't lose the boat entirely this annual cycle, we can punt till October for the Inland Port Authority's meeting. Stephanie, is there anything that you would like to come up and add, or is that a good summary?
That's a great summary.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
So, for the permafrost, how big of an area are we talking? I
Um,
haven't seen a map, that's why I'm curious.
We can provide that map. We actually have a copy of a scaled down version of that map. It is literally just the parcel, the singular parcel that they would hope to occupy. Their first phase, without saying too much because it's not a done deal, and they are, they have secondary places that they'll consider if we can't rise to the opportunity that they feel they're presenting to us. They would put 252,000 square feet under a roof with a rail spur, with the idea that in the coming 5 years, they'd have 1.2 million square feet under roof. It would not be a high job count employer. It's just it would be a high energy user, and it would be just that parcel that they would need. They don't need the adjoining parcels for the building, parking lot, and typical expansion. They do need an adjoining parcel that early on we discovered, we actually thought it was a road easement, but is privately held. And through a discovery process, thank you, Stephanie. Stephanie can show you that map, Commissioner. Through a discovery process, we recognized that adjoining parcel is required in order to have a road get out to Iowa String. And so it's only those two parcels that would be required for that. Stephanie?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So,
You have anything to add? Annie, did you?
yeah, so just based off of the map, and even with the permafrost zone scaled down, the location just south of Tremont and north of Procter Gamble and the one south of Procter Gamble are, from what I understand, both in existing RDA areas, and so we cannot double tax people in those areas. So we would have to find out what the current status is, which exact project RDA areas those are in, what the status of those project areas are, and then figure out if we can release the RDAs, or there may be a different process depending on what the status is. We did do this when we did the original approval for the Inland Port, but that was a project area that had never triggered, it had never moved forward or even had a budget. And so that one was a little bit easier for us to dissolve because there was no obligations or anything happening on it. But right now, that's where, from the attorney's side, that we see that we're at. You could move forward with it, but we would need to figure out all of those things to remove the RDA, them from the RDA project area before they can be committed to the Inland Port.
Okay.
Commissioners, might I ask of the attorney's office then, in a similar way we've been communicating, and while that was simply narratively communicated, might we work together collaboratively with the auditor's office to make sure that we get whatever information that you seem to have we don't have, that indicates that clearly so that we can go about that process and do so as expeditiously as possible, please.
Yeah, we're happy to help however you need. It needs to be verified. That's what needs to be verified. And then if we need to assist with the dissolution and work with our RDA attorney, we can do that to help you achieve it. But we just need maybe you and the auditor or whichever office would be involved with those RDA project areas to verify which project area they are in, what the current status is, and then I can take that information and figure out legally if we can unwind it so that we can commit the area to the inland port.
Thank you. I will say, Commissioner, that herein lies one challenge that I've experienced in the last year and a half that I've had this role for you, is that there's a number of different perspectives that are playing in this space, but no centralized record keeping. So unfortunately, and I appreciate the corporate entity that was in here before to talk about turnover and loss of institutional knowledge. That seems to be what Stephanie and I are finding ourselves battling against an unknown, right? Is Annie, to that point, it would be me, right? Like fulfilling that role, but I don't have those records. So that's why I say working collaboratively, I think your office and us,
And the
And the recorder's office as well.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And at this particular time, I would invite Commissioner Summers, if he's aware of what Annie's referring to, because I only vaguely do.
I am.
I've communicated that to Stephanie, that I was aware a year and a half ago that there were 2 competing RDAs in that area, but then was led to believe that this area was completely clear and free of that.
Commissioner Summers, do you have something on there?
Yeah, I was just going to tell Annie was correct on the assumption of the one that hadn't been triggered. And when we had talked to the inland port, they actually said that they would help us also find out from the state on which ones actually had obligations against them and which ones didn't. And I don't think the Tremont one has an obligation on it at all, because that's never been in an RDA. And then the ones that you're talking about through permafrost, I think is one of the ones that was in a mega site. And I don't think the mega sites were ever triggered either, but you'd have to go back and take a look at the boundaries. But I'm pretty sure that they weren't triggered at all either on the mega sites.
Thank you. Commissioner Bingham, you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I was just wondering about the Tremont site. I mean, do the people that own the land know that this is going on?
I know that the landowner that has recently sold or first position for purchase is, I'm told, aware of what the play is by the new owner, but
So I'm talking
yes.
the Tremont area one, not the permafrost.
Copy that. If we silo the Corinne one, the permafrost one, you're asking about the Tremont.
Yeah.
Mayor, I believe you've been in contact with the property owner, or at least familiar with the former property owner? I don't want to trap you with a gotcha question.
Have the
but-
mayor come up if we could from Tremont, and just to make sure we understand because we have the 2 different parcels we're looking at and need to talk about. And obviously we'd have to have an RDA meeting to finish this part, but go ahead, Mayor. If you want to.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
State your name.
Lyle Holmgreen, Mayor of Tremont.
Thank you.
So I've worked with the Eagle family. Most of this is the Eagle Dairy Farm, and they are quite interested in, selling their property, and so they are aware of what's going on. This is something that's going on without their knowledge.
So they're familiar with the inland port and things of that nature?
Well, yeah, probably as much as maybe the common, I mean, it's one of those, it's a little bit, there's a lot to learn. And, but in talking to them, I've had several meetings with them. They're quite interested in selling their property.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Any further discussion on this issue?
I would just simply reiterate, Commissioners, if there's clear direction that you can provide so that we know how to proceed. Again, we've had some conversations with you. I feel as though the latest map that Stephanie just showed us is representative of where there's unanimity, at least for permafrost, and was under the impression that the commission, and as you can tell, the city with the mayor and the city manager here are very supportive of what the Tremont area could be.
Well, Sean, and you actually said it right, that basically Brigham City doesn't have to have our, permission, whether they're gone, and I think Tremont, if it's in their annexation plan, all we're doing is helping them have a step up towards October to where they can go to the inland port and know that it's, in their annexation problem or in their annexation portfolio and be able to do that. So we're just helping them get 6 months ahead of the process to be able to talk about it in that, willing seller, willing buyer, or whatever that's going to happen in that area. So that would be my 2 cents worth to work with Annie to make sure that that's not in an RDA and nothing's pulled the trigger and that there's nothing that's happening in that project area, which I don't think there is. And then as for the other one, I know that's not in an RDA, and be able to, work with the landowner and with the inland port, Tremont City, to make sure that that is what they want to get done in that area.
So we can work toward that. Do you think we could have things ready by the September meeting to do an RDA meeting in September?
If we can get the information on which RDA project areas and their status, then I can move as quickly as possible to
Okay.
figure out what to do from that point.
Okay, that would be
Annie,
great.
call me.
Okay.
Annie,
All right,
call
that-
me.
yep,
I think
we
I can
got
give you
that.
some numbers.
Okay, so that's what we'll work toward that to find out on that RDA. So, and then we'll take what actions necessary going forward. So the second item is the annual review of the rural county grant program.
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, so to the second item, again, Sean Milne, Bear River Association of Governments. So this last year, you'll probably think to yourself, I seem to be a little early on talking about this subject versus last year. And that's true. The state, through the Governor's Office of Economic Opportunity, moved up both the annual reporting and the annual application period for the Rural County Grant Program. Again, not to bore you, but just for the benefit of those that might come to this recording, a quick overview. The Rural County Grant Program qualifies counties that are designated by the state of Utah to be rural, of which Box Elder County is one of the 24 that are deemed as such, to get up to $200,000 in pass-through funding from the legislature with a nexus towards economic development projects or activities and related costs. So it has been the habit of the established paradigm with Bragg and the contracted services at $69,000 and some change. There's no request for an increase in that going forward. That leaves about $130,000 in project money that could be used for fiscal year '25. The same program necessitates that the county has a CEO board, which is the County Economic Opportunity Advisory Board. You gentlemen will recall that you appointed some new members to reconstitute that board earlier this year, and I thank you greatly for that. They are a great group of people, and I've really enjoyed working with them. There's still one vacant seat that at some point when that corporate entity identifies who they would like to fulfill that seat, I'll come before you just for ratification of that seat. But otherwise, the existing members who are Commissioner Perry, Monica Holdaway with the Chamber representing the private sector who was here earlier, Stephanie Tugal-Madsen, which represents the realty market and giving the group a perspective on commercial real estate, and a number of other users. They must be used to consult and advise the local legislative body, of which you are as a county commission, and then you guys direct me on how to apply for fiscal year '25 monies. So the body met very recently and has offered the suggestion of the following for the $130,000. And that would be to split it 50-50. So 65,000.
Actually, that wasn't the motion.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
The actual motion was 75,000 toward grant program and 55,000 toward infrastructure was the motion that came out of the meeting.
Okay, copy that. Thank you. For 75% to go towards small business grants.
No, 75,000, not 75.
What did I just say? Oh, I'm sorry.
75,000 of
much.
the 130 would go toward grants, small business grants, and 55,000 could be used toward infrastructure.
For hard asset infrastructure.
Correct.
Yep. Which could be used as matching money. Thank you very much, Chairman Perry. I appreciate that. I obviously
Why
wasn't
attend the
listening to
meeting.
myself. Yeah. 75,000 going towards small business grants with terms to be worked out very specifically with the CEO board moving forward. There are a lot of other project topics discussed, everything from creating a new small business and entrepreneurship center down here in Brigham, much like fiscal year '24 envisioned for Tremont and Garland, in the old Lazy Boy factory, retail recruitment to event development. I don't know if you've heard that SmallSat, which is a big deal in Logan and the Cache Valley, but also impacts Box Elder County's lodging community, has decided to move to Salt Lake going forward. The reason why that's germane to this discussion is that's 4,500 people from around the world that come to that conference for a week every year. And anybody familiar with surge pricing for things like Lyft and Uber and other things, will understand the phenomena, but hotels will raise their rates depending upon demand. And unfortunately, Box Elder, Cache, Franklin County, Idaho, and other surrounding places that have benefited from those hotel stays raise their rates consistently and so excessively in some cases that SmallSat said between the lack of inventory of rooms, because people were staying as far away as Pocatello and Bountiful in order to commute and be at those daily meetings, and the room rates, we were losing some of the traditional government entities that made our conference successful. Because as this body will well appreciate, you try to keep folks like myself and others that report to you within due bounds, and we call that per diem rates for GSA. And some of the hoteliers were charging 5 times per diem. And those government entities were like, well, we don't have the budget for that. We can understand and appreciate that's what hoteliers do. But anyway, some of the other ideas were, do we create additional inventory for events to help round out what will be missing from the local economy? And the 2 items that Commissioner Perry has just, helped me remember the finer details of are what the body has come forward to you, the CEO board, with a recommendation of. So that's what's before you. They are advisory only. You have the last and final say, and you get to direct me on how I apply for those monies for fiscal year 25. So with your direction and vote today, I would ask you to consider what the CEO board has brought before you, and let me know the direction, please.
So when you're talking infrastructure, are you talking investing in hotels?
No, thank you for the clarification, since I went off on a tangent there. No, the majority of the discussion was about water or broadband connections, things that stymie smaller businesses, which is where they spent the greatest amount of their time discussing smaller businesses, and some of those things that act as expensive hurdles to entrepreneurs that have been here their whole lives that want to go out and venture out and start their own company. What are some of those elements that cause them to say, you know what, I just can't afford to start my own business here? It could be broadband to the extent that someone's like, well, I want to be an online retailer, or a consultant that uses Zoom to save on my transportation costs so I don't have to go see the clients physically in person. And I get that.
Just as an example, we have a large business down in Willard right now that is kind of a home-based business. They're running out of one of the sheds down there, doing some I can't remember exactly what the wording, but fixing some possible military-type vehicles. They could come and say, we need to have higher band broadband because it will benefit us in communicating with our partners and the people we work with. They're doing a lot of business, and it's a fairly significant business. So that may be somebody who would make a request, or perhaps somebody who just says, hey, you know what, if I can get a better water connection, or if I can get work with somebody to have a sewer system hooked in rather than a septic tank system, I might be able to operate this business. Things like that. And obviously, it would be, a lot of this would be matching, as the idea that was talked about by the group would be, we kind of use the money, like Commissioner Summers mentioned earlier, to build on more and say, if you as a business come forward and say, I'd like this grant and I'm going to put this in, will you contribute to that? That would be the process behind the board, what the board would do with this. So,
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
so I would entertain a motion that we approve the annual rural grant program as explained by Sean going forward, that with the $75,000 for grants for small businesses, along with the $55,000 for infrastructure. Again, that can be brought back if one or the other doesn't work out correctly. That, again, our advisory board could come back to us. But that would be, I would like to have a motion to that effect.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve the annual review of the rural county grant as approved by the advisory board, recommended by the advisory board.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, a second Commissioner Summers to approve the annual review and plan for the rural county grant program. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, that brings us on to our next item. which is the Resolution 2411, is to impose a 0.3%, 0.3% local option sales tax for public safety. I think the commissioners are aware of this. Basically, the legislature has allowed, and what we've run into in the county is huge costs when it comes to public safety with running our jail, with our sheriff's department, with our deputies. And so under Utah Code 5912, 2216, subsection 3, subsection B of the Utah Code, Box Elder County is authorized to impose a local option sales tax and use tax for public safety purposes. And Box Elder County has seen a significant increase in ongoing need of public safety funding in order to adequately protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Box Elder County, as well as those who work and visit here in Box Elder County, which we've seen considerably. Whereas under this code, it provides for and authorizes Box Elder County to impose a sales and use tax of up to 0.3% for public safety purposes. Whereas the Box Elder County Commission has found and determined that the imposition of such a tax is necessary to adequately protect the health, safety, and welfare of those residing, working, and visiting in Box Elder County, and that such a tax is in the best interest of and will protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of Box Elder County. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the county legislative body, we will take action on this resolution. So with that, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve Resolution 24-11 to impose the 0.3% local option sales tax for public safety.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Bingham, a second from Commissioner Summers to approve Resolution 2411 to impose a 0.3% local option sales tax for public safety. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously. All right, that moves us on. Do we have open for a public hearing on this, right? Okay, so that moves us on to number 14, community development, public hearing for the Godfrey Road vacate. I notice Scott's not here. Destiny, are you filling in? Okay, if you want to come forward here. So we'll have a public hearing for the Godfrey Road vacate. Do we need to change anything on? Okay, so we're open to public hearing for that. So go ahead, Destin.
Okay, so just as far as...
Again, we introduced just so people online.
Destin Christiansen, Community Development. So just as some background information for this, so this is for a road vacation in the Riverside area of unincorporated Box Elder County. Essentially, what the summary is roughly when Riverside was platted well over 100 years ago. Part of it was including these alleyways and other roads that potentially could be used at some point down the road. At this stage, so with this application, the current alley width is just 18 feet in width. That kind of spans the length north to south of a block there in the Riverside area. Up to this point, it's just been used, as far as we know, for private property purposes. So the homeowners that are adjacent to this alleyway have used it just for that purpose. It has not been, to the best of our knowledge, ever used for public right-of-way at this stage. So applicants filed an application, and all the applicants that are adjacent to this were part of that application, anyway, that front on this alleyway, and it went to the County Planning Commission on June 20th, and was presented there, and the Planning Commission at that stage recommended approval for this to pass along to you, the County Commission.
And who are we vacating this to?
So essentially what it would do is it would be split between those that front along that, and so 9 feet would go to the property owners on one side, 9 feet to the other on the other side for it. So it just go to those that are existing there for their current property.
Okay. Any discussion to the Godfrey Road vacate? Anyone from the
No, we've done this before in that other area, so I'd make a motion that we approve the Godfrey vacate.
Before we do that, I have to go to public comment, Stan.
Oh,
So
that's
anyone
right.
from the public
Sorry.
that wanted to discuss this? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Now I'll come back to the commission for a motion.
So moved.
So I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Closed.
Motion to close.
I'll second.
We have a second from Commissioner, so motion to close the public hearing from Commissioner Summers, second from Commissioner Bingham. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we can go back to the actual prospect of making a motion on vacating the Godfrey Road
So
vacate.
moved. So moved.
Have a motion from Commissioner
I'll
Summers
second.
and a second from Commissioner Bingham to vacate the Godfrey Road vacate that's been explained to us by Dustin Christensen. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. What's that?
Do they need to prepare an ordinance to vacate that road? Yeah, we would probably need to do that. So I would say I'm not saying how you should,
Okay.
you should probably direct staff to prepare.
So, yeah, so we'll ask staff to prepare a motion, or a, what is it called? An ordinance for the road vacate that we can sign and take care of. So, okay,
Take us a little bit of time.
We'll get it.
that concludes our public hearing for the Godfrey Road vacate. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, buildings and grounds, bids for fairground restroom remodel. Cody.
Cody Elam, Buildings and Grounds. We went out to bid for this remodel for the existing restroom out of the fairgrounds. With that, the low bid come in. We had multiple bidders that put in. The low bid was CS Construction and Development. They are out of Far West. I've never dealt with them before. We asked for a little more information on them. We vetted them a little bit thorough. They've actually come back pretty good. We're pretty excited with the numbers they come in. We budgeted, I think we had 350, around 350,000 to do this project, and they come in at 261,924 for this to complete that addition there. So they'll start, upon your guys' approval, they'll start on September 1st, and we'll get a completion date back to you guys. So it should be done here in the next 6 months. So.
Okay. Any discussion to the bids for the fairground restroom remodel? If not, I'd entertain a motion that we accept the bid from CS Construction.
I'll make a motion that we accept the bid for the fairgrounds restroom remodel for CNS
I'm going to
Construction.
abstain.
What was that? You second it?
I abstain. No, I abstain.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We have an abstention, so, or no, one no. Okay, so we are going ahead with it, so
Okay.
it passes. So, okay, that brings us to our public comment portion of our meeting here. We have two individuals who've asked to speak here today. We'll start with Deanna Hardy. Again, rules are as listed above there. Those wishing to make public comment will obviously slide in. They'll have 3 minutes, speak regardless of the number of times they wish to address, as we've explained, and then they'll address their comments to the commission only. There is no back and forth. So with that, if you'll introduce yourself.
Okay, Deanna Hardy. The Box Elder Committee of Liberty opposes the implementation of a free speech zone at the Box Elder County Fair. Free speech does not need a zone. This is a tyrannical decision. The Committee of Liberty is here to stand for all citizens' inalienable rights given to us by God, which government was established to protect these rights. We are here to remind each elected representative of their oath of office to support, obey, and defend both the U.S. Constitution and the Utah Constitution. The First Amendment of freedom of speech is being violated with your recent decision to make a free speech zone at the Box Elder County Fair. Free speech was so important that our founding fathers put it in the First Amendment. Our republic government requires each of you to protect each citizen's right to freedom of speech. Remember, by oath and affirmation, each representative covenanted to protect our republic from enemies, foreign and domestic. Free speech is vital to our republic. When the previous commissioners, Summers, Hadfield, and Scott, shut down the public comment period for 6 years, 2017 to 2023, this shut down the voice of the people, and this was also a tyrannical decision and should have never been allowed to happen. We are grateful that this present commission restored the public comment period, the voice of the people. I was personally told not too long ago by Commissioner Bingham that he did not need to listen to me. My reply was, yes, you do. You are my representative. What am I paying you for? It is troubling that those who are with socialist, fascist, Marxist programs are listened to, but citizens who are standing against these republic-destroying programs are not listened to. This is the opposite of what should be happening. Each elected representative has a duty and responsibility to protect each citizen's inalienable right given by God and we encourage you to remember and fulfill this duty and responsibility. This is why you were elected. You are to stay within the boundaries of the constitutions. You were not elected to run a government corporation. Founding Father Benjamin Franklin said, "This sacred privilege, freedom of speech, is so essential to free governments that the security of property and the freedom of speech always go together. And in those wretched countries where a man cannot call his tongue his own, he can scarce call anything else his own. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech, a thing terrible to public traitors." Benjamin Franklin, 1722, Cato Letter 15, 1721. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our next person would be Lana Fonsbeck.
I'm Lana Fonsbeck from Honeyville. I have been a resident of Box Elder County all my life.
You know what, Lana, you just pull that mic up just a little bit. Yeah, there we
Right.
go. So Commissioner, there we go. Thank you.
I have a computer science degree from Utah State University, and I've been a software developer for an aerospace company for more than 30 years. I specialize in databases, business intelligence, but also have many years of programming experience. I also worked on a project where we collected information as our assets were being transported across the country, so I know a little about remote access to systems and data. In 2022, I was a poll watcher. I observed both the counting of mail-in and drop box ballots, as well as in-person voting on Election Day. As I observed, I asked if the machines were connected to the internet. I was assured they were not, so they were safe from external influences. It was interesting to me that my very low-end Android phone could receive updates in that same room without being connected to the internet, and yet everyone felt confident in the extremely expensive machines because they were not connected to the building's Wi-Fi. I hope as elected officials you have at least witnessed a logic and accuracy test of the machines before believing that they are safe and secure. But that is incredibly naive. Please consider that the machine could be updated with replacement software as soon as you walked out of the room, just like your phone receives updates without you knowing. Even more simple, the code could check the current date, and if it were not November 5th, run different code than on November 5th. Very simple to program. It would also be easy to have the code check for someone's favorite party falling behind and start counting 2 for them and subtracting 1 for the party they don't like. The numbers could still be consistent with the ballot count. It could easily be updated again after the election to show honest processing of ballots. So the question is, why would anyone approve such machines? Are you taking someone else's word for the security of our vote? Their promises are unprovable. Please stop rolling your eyes whenever one of us doesn't take their word for it. We should all be concerned. Our constitutional government is dependent on absolute knowledge that our voting system is without question. We don't have that. The action many have sought for is the hand counting of paper ballots. It exposes every ballot to witnesses that can ensure the vote is accurate. The machines in use now keep that hidden. No one knows what's going on inside the machine. Please take action to protect our sacred right to vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, that completes our public comment that's registered here. We've taken care of the warrant register for the thing, and I don't think we have any. Do we have personnel? Yep, we'll get one personnel item here. Need to take care of that. We'll take care of that. You don't have anything for closed, right? Okay. So we'll take care of that, and then we'll take one final motion here as soon as we take care of the personnel action here. Okay, one final motion.
I'll make a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, have a motion, have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.